Welcome to the Irish Pagan School podcast. Your hosts are authors and co-founders of the Irish Pagan School here in County Waterford, Ireland, Laura O'Brien and Jon O'Sullivan. Fáilte.
Are Irish gods only for Irish people or people in Ireland? Well, Dag the Eve agus Fáilte. Hi, hello, and welcome. Jon O'Sullivan from the Irish Pagan School. And that is a cast or question which kind of comes up very frequently. And I thought I'd answer it again, maybe in a little bit of a different format and give some perspective on it. So I suppose to get right to the crux of it, are Irish gods only for Irish people or people born in Ireland? And the answer, not hard to say, no. No, they're not. Absolutely not. And that fundamentally, like, it's one of the core things that we teach in the Irish Pagan School is that, you don't have to be Irish to engage in the teaching. You don't have to be Irish to engage in learning about these deities, learning about the culture, the mythology, the practices. You don't have to be Irish to engage in spirituality or Irish spirituality or spirituality surrounding Irish gods. You do not have to have Irish DNA. You don't have to have Irish lineage. You don't have to be born in Ireland. So the next question, really, the follow-on question is, do you have to incorporate and understand Irish culture, Irish living experience, Irish history, and Irish practices, politics, entertainment in order to engage with Irish spirituality or Irish deities? No. Again, you don't have to. Who am I to turn around and say what you can and cannot do? You can choose to engage in your own practice and your own spirituality in your own way. Does this mean that you'll be engaging with Irish spirituality and Irish gods in an ethical and informed manner? No, it doesn't. Because divorcing and separating the deities from the culture in which their belief and spirituality is expressed is not engaging with those deities as they are. It's changing and shifting the deities to suit your own personal need within your own personal context. Now, again, is that wrong? Who's for me to say? Have I seen people with varying levels of spiritual difficulty because of those kind of practices? Yes, I have. It's why I do this job. It's why we teach at the Irish Pagan School, to help people understand, to open their minds, to explore the perspectives, and to be more informed about their spiritual choices and their spiritual growth. It's literally school. It's not Irish Pagan hangout chat. It's not Irish Pagan, cult. Absolutely not. It is a school. And you can choose to come to the school and engage with the education if you like. You can choose not to. Perfect free will. You can choose to engage with the practices. You can choose to use the practices of guided journey meditation that we offer. You can choose to use the practices of hexing and warding or herbal knowledge from Irish teachers, Irish native practitioners, or not. You are free to do and express your own spirituality in your own way. What I have seen and what I speak from experience here is that people who believe in Irish gods or come across Irish deities invariably deepen and enrich their understanding of themselves and their relationship with their spiritual devotion, be it gods, guides, guardians, ancestors, or whatever, when they understand the mythology, the history, and the cultural aspects of the source nation. It's kind of fundamental. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be, you can only French people can worship Gaulish gods. Fucking no. I'm not saying only Norse people or people with Viking ancestry or Scandinavian ancestry can worship Scandinavian deities. Absolutely fucking not. There's a horrible rhetoric that underlines that of racism and ethnic essentialism that causes a lot of fucking problems. And that's never anything that we stand for in our communities. That is something we really, really rile against. You don't have to have green hair, green eyes and red hair to be Irish. You don't have to be white to be Irish. You don't have to be blonde hair, blue eyes to worship the Norse gods. There's a whole underlying issue with that, which is racism. That's not what we teach here. We're actively against that. So when I talk about the Celtic gods problem, for example, and people presuming that all gods are one gods, or because all of these and races go back to Indo-European origins, and that's how we currently understand the expansion of humanity across the Middle East, which would be from the Mediterranean out into Western Europe. That's how we understand it, this Indo-European route, which then dictates a lot of the languages that come from there. And that's really what it comes down to. The language of these Celtic tribes, in essence, being referred to as having a P-Celtic or a Q-Celtic root in linguistic origins. That's how it's tracked. That's how it's talked about. So when you see people referring to Indo-European deities or IE deities or IE roots, it is tracking back and trying to understand where humanity came from, which is great, which is fascinating. Does that have to define the spirituality? Do I have to start worshipping ancient Sumerian gods because we can track the roots of like father deities back in that way? Do we have to focus and shift our entire lens to push it back, push it back, push it back far enough so that we're all just one people and one tribe out of Africa? Yeah, I'm happy to do that. If we can actually remove all of the divisiveness, all of the structures, all of the breakdown, hate, discrimination, and everything else that has been built up over the times, if we can become one species, one tribe of one planet in our solar system, I would fucking love that. But we're not. We are a multifaceted expression of species based on a number of different evolutionary imperatives, a number of different environmental factors that come along with it. And that's how we have evolved as a species. But to push it all back and say, well, we're all like, Homo sapiens at the root of it all. And so we need to go back to stone tools and we need to go back to like our ancient ancestors in that way. You're missing and invalidating cultural expression, environmental expression, the uniqueness and the varied scope that is the human experience, because you're trying to drive it back to its source narrative or its root form. Again, as a thought exercise, as a historical exercise, absolutely. But am I here to turn around and say that you have to worship ancient, like Sumerian gods or ancient Persian deities? If you're practicing maths, do you have to, like, actually respect and honor the Persian people who created that? No, we need to acknowledge the history of where it comes from. We need to acknowledge the mythology of where it comes from, and in that way, build a much more inclusive and ethical practice around our spiritual growth. Or not, because I'm not here to force anyone to do anything. You've heard me say it multiple times. It's not our way or the highway. It's here's an opportunity to look at things from a different perspective, to look at things from a native perspective, to understand cultural influences. So when people come and say, okay, well, why are you including politics in and expressions of politics or expressions of, anti-racism or gender circumstances in our inclusive communities? I'm here for my spirituality. I'm here to tick box on my Irish kind of ancestry. Why are you making it political? You're missing an underlying facet of what it is to be an Irish person. You're missing the underlying facets of Irish cultural expression. So why is that relevant? Well, these deities are Irish. The expressions of these deities as they connect with our culture, as they connect with our landscape, is Irish. Oh, but Lou came out of France first, did he? According to like the age of the documents that we have, according to our current theory of the evolution of people and how we have moved based on the evidence that we have observed? Absolutely. But the thing with theories is they need to be revised based on new evidence, based on new facts. And so the current theory of glaciation across all of Europe, our last great glaciation, has Ireland being completely empty and completely devoid of all form of life between, now I'm going to get the maths wrong on this. I can look it up and I might put the link to a blog post I wrote about it below. Um, I think it's between 20,000 years ago and like 12,000 years ago. Something like that. It's something like, amazing. But more information, more facts that have come out shows that during the period or during our current understanding of glaciation in Western Europe, where Ireland is presumed to have been completely covered of ice and devoid of all kind of life, we now have bones. We have bones found in a cave in Castlepook, which showed that there was human activity. There were people butchering reindeer, with stone tools on the island during the time frame when it was supposedly completely lifeless and covered in ice. So yeah, it all comes out of Indo-European roots. It came out and moved across our into like the Western Europes. Ireland was the last place to be colonized. Okay. Or is it possible that there were tribes who had crossed over the ice bridges from the north and were happily living in Ireland, and who's to say it didn't go the other way? Now, I'm not purporting a theory that everything came out of Ireland. No, I don't have enough evidence for that. But I do have questions, and I do have information or facts that lead me to more questions. Does that mean I need to completely reevaluate everything and talk about it all from a different direction? At the moment, no. But even if there was that shift and change, I would still say that we need to look at our spirituality through the lens of the cultures in which it is expressed and not fall into the trap of colonized, imperialist, monotheistic thought patterns in each category. Like there's colonizer thought patterns that, well, these people are all barbarians and they don't really understand anyway. Okay. Julius Caesar, Great Britain, we don't have to go that far fucking back to find it. Monotheistic? Well, yeah, it's all kind of one god or one expression of deity in the end of it all. So this polytheism stuff is just the one set of gods expressed in different cultures. So it's all Zeus and his group, or it's all Jupiter and his group. But we know it's not. So there's a number of different mentalities that each of us, me included, need to be aware of. Because the only way we can approach these things is with a beginner's mindset, with an open-mindedness, with a curiosity and a willingness to be wrong. Absolutely. Give me more information, give me more facts, and I will change and shift my narrative. I will change and shift my understanding and my expressions based on the new information. If it changes the view of things. But rigid dogmatic thinking of, well, no, you're wrong because you have different information to me, or you're wrong because you have a different cultural expression to me, or you're wrong because you have a different color skin to me, it's divisive and it undermines all of the narratives. So I felt like I got off on a bit of a rant there, but to bring it right back, no, you don't have to be Irish to worship Irish gods. Depending on where you're coming from, depending on your own expression of upbringing, your own environmental factors, your own ethnicity in your upbringing, you might have some perspective to shift. You might have some understanding and some learning to do. We get contacted by people who've come from the UK and they're like, "Can I still worship Irish gods if I'm from the UK?" And it's like, "Yeah, I'm not here. I am not the one who says yes or no, you can or you can't." If you want to, if you feel called to, if you're curious about it, then explore that. But you may need to make space for understanding the history of the root culture as opposed to the history that you were raised with in your own environment. Same with people coming from the States. Same with people in Australia. Even if you have lineage, even if your great grandfather came over in whenever, the Irish culture is different from the 1800s. Like fundamentally speaking, we had rebellion, we had a republic. Like we're still growing and changing all of the time, and so it's you can absolutely you can believe whatever you want. You can throw the Morrigan's name on it if you want. You can throw the Dagda's name on it. You can throw Lou at it, or like whatever you want. But what you're practicing is a shallow expression of spirituality that fulfills your own personal gratification and nothing more. The same way there are a whole load of healing wells all over this island, and you go to any like healing well, you'll find statues of Mary, statue of a saint, statues of Bridget put on it, because Christianity came in and was like, oh yeah, well here's all these ritually significant spaces of healing. Slap a bit of Jesus on it. Toss a Mary statue up there. They didn't remove the underlying expressions of people's cultural belief and spiritual practices, they co-opted them. They appropriated them to shift the narrative to something that gratifies their own power structure. So if someone's not willing to engage with the culture, with the lived experience of people in the island, with the lived experience of the mythology and the history, you're pretty much doing the same thing. I'm taking this and putting it on what I want because it suits me better. The Morrigan is a cuddly goddess who I call Mammy. The Dagda's an oaferish, lecherous god who because he's a man and has a big penis, I can't engage with him in my spiritual practices. These are all oh, Lou, sorry, yeah. The fascination with Lou being some golden haired blonde Aryan type figure. No, fuck off. Lou's mixed race. He's half Fomorian and half Tuatha Dé Danann, the same way Bress was. How would you know that? Oh well, you'd have to go back and read the mythology and you'd have to understand it. How is that expressed? Well, culturally speaking, there's never been a fucking problem with that in Ireland. Until there was a problem made of that in Ireland. And now here we are generations later with race issues in my country. So why is any of this relevant? It's actually not. It's only important and relevant if it applies to you, if you choose it to be. If you feel something that I have said struck a chord with you, some perspective I have offered has resonated with you. But again, I'm not the be all end all here. I'm an Irish guy trying to explore Irish paganism and spirituality, trying to decolonize my thinking, trying to get beyond the appropriation and the colonization of the Catholic Church in my country, trying to go back to the roots, trying to understand something very different to what I was raised in. I'm not the 100% guaranteed expert, but I am putting in the time. I am putting in the effort. And for many years, myself and my partner, Laura, have been putting in the time and putting in the effort. I don't refer to myself as a Dagda expert because I feel very uncomfortable with that term. But I have literally had people walk up to me at conference in the States and be like, "You're the Dagda guy." I'm like, "No, no, I'm just a Dagda storyteller. I just like, you know," and they're like, "No, no, you're the Dagda guy." It helps them. It helps them understand and approach it and engage. And it gives me an opportunity to talk more about a special interest of mine and a God that I choose to work for. So, okay. Now I really feel like I'm rambling. So it's difficult. I'll be honest, folks. Like to level with you, those of you who have stayed to the end of this video, it really is grinding and demoralizing when people come at us in the comments, when people come for us telling us we're gatekeeping, when people come for us like telling us we're bullies and bad guys. And, you know, all I'm out here doing is trying to offer a bit of perspective, and it is on each individual whether or not they want to engage with that to themselves. And there are many people who like will see IPS and be like, yeah, no, they're bad guys because I had a bad experience with them or whatever. Okay, sorry for that, but we're not going to change our behaviors and we're going to keep talking about what we need to talk about, which is the Irish expression of spirituality in a pre-Christian state and the importance of understanding our culture and our mythology and the expression of that as it has informed the status of Irish people. So again, do you have to be Irish to believe in Irish gods? No. Do you have to understand Ireland, its history, its mythology, its people, its culture? to worship our Irish gods? No. But if you want to do it honorably, ethically, deeply, and fulfilling, then yes, explore our culture, explore our mythology, get to know our history, get to know us better, because then you understand and know the expression of spirituality from these deities through the lens of an Irish person. And that's what we offer. So, thank the Gritch, thank the Eve, thank you, hello, thank to be with you. I'm saying hello again at the end of it. Flustered. Thank you very much for being with me here. I really, really appreciate it. We work really hard and have for many years to provide this information and to provide as much access to native cultural Irish teachings of pagan origins as we can. If you want to know more, we have a whole lot of free resources for you. You don't even have to spend a cent. Go to irishpagan.school/free. Full classes, guided journey meditations, book recommendations, a whole lot of stuff that you can actually do to engage and to grow in your own spirituality in what we believe is a deeper and more ethically and more connected way. Until next time, look after yourself. Take care. Agus Salán. Goodbye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a positive review in your podcast listener. Then head over to irishpaganschool.com and enroll in one of our free or paid courses. Slán go fóill, and we will see you next time.